Hello and welcome to today's podcast. I'm Susan Guthrie, your host, and today Kate Anthony is back with us. Yay, Kate! Yay.
Thank you for having me.
I wish I had the background, like I could hit that button and we had the applause and the fireworks going off. I have to work on sound effects because that's how I feel. It's wonderful always to have you back. I was just telling you, Kate, who has visited us a few times, the host of the Divorce Survival Guide, divorce coach extraordinaire, all things communication, and one of my good friends, has been on the show a few times, and two of her episodes are in the top 5. Your episode on your wonderful program, the Divorce Survival Program, is the number 3 episode, and your episode on how to have that talk, which is kind of the episode that comes after what we're going to talk about today, but that one is number 4. So 2 of my top 5 episodes, Kate Anthony. Let's move this one into the top 5 as well. So thank you for coming today.
Thank you for having me, Susan. As always, I adore you, and any chance to just hang out with you is, if we can't do it cooking in my kitchen, then I guess we're just going to have to do it doing podcasts. It's fine.
Exactly. I just had Dr. Elizabeth on the other day and said, basically, I just go through my mental Rolodex of topics and then come up with things so I can meet with you guys and have podcast episodes. And somebody said to me, it's actually just as an aside for my listeners, somebody said, why don't you just get new people on each time you bring on some of the same people? And I'm like, because one of the big, huge bonuses of my fantastic friends and colleagues in this world is you guys aren't just one note. You don't know just one thing about divorce. You guys are a wealth of information and expertise. And I think there's actually a great deal, and my listeners always write in about this. They love hearing from people and getting to know the experts and really get that deep dive. And that's what we're going to do today. We are talking about one of your areas of expertise, which is in that area of should I stay or should I go, right? And you just re-released your online program, which is all brand new. And that's kind of what's occasioning this. But I really wanted to talk about it. We did an earlier episode on this, but first of all, I know your program's evolved. And that's one of the things I think when we work with divorcing people all the time, something that I may have trained or taught or thought before is always informed and evolves over time as I get more experience and I work with more people. And I know you have the same experience.
Absolutely. And that's exactly why I redid the program, is that I just felt like I have evolved. One of my core values is about, evolution and constantly learning and growing, right? And personal growth. And as I've worked with hundreds of women, in thousands in my Facebook group and my listeners, right, that I have learned more about what is really needed and wanted in the decision-making process. And I just wanted to really dig more deeply into those pockets. And it was a really long and dense and intense program. And I feel like at this juncture, people probably need a little bit more specificity and less, just a little bit more laser focus. So that's what I tried to do with revamping the program.
Yeah. I can't wait to check out the new program. And I want to just highlight something that you were just saying, because I know, one of the hallmarks of a really good professional is somebody who is never done learning, who never thinks they know it all, and who is always looking to know more. And I happen to know you just took a really intensive domestic violence training, and you're actually taking our Mostyn Guthrie co-parenting specialist training we were just talking about. So you're a perfect example of what I tell people to look for in a professional, is someone who is constantly looking for more tools, skills, strategies, and knowledge to help the people that they're working with.
And that's exactly right. As I went through this 40-hour domestic violence advocacy training program, I learned so much. I mean, I've been working around this for so long, that, there's, a lot that I did know, but so much that I didn't know. And frankly, I was really tired of referring people to their local advocacy groups that are completely overrun and overwhelmed, and, don't have space, and are, and then I was just like, all right, I need to be able to actually tell people what to do specifically. And so that is why I did that. And so, yes, the abuse section, there is an abuse section in the new program, obviously. And it is much more, I think it's a little bit more robust, sadly, because I have found over the 3 years since the program was first created, that there's more of a need for that than I ever anticipated.
Yeah.
And it's
a
bummer.
I was just going to say, I think that's one of the saddest things that I've discovered as a practitioner. I've always had because I lived in a place that was relatively high net worth. People were always like, oh, well, you never have dealt with a lot of domestic violence, Susan. You had all, these uber wealthy people and celebrity types and I was like, so wrong. That is not how domestic violence works. And in many cases, it's actually more insidious in those circumstances.
Absolutely.
They have the money and the wealth and the celebrity to hide some of these behaviors, or get things taken care of that, or put aside that perhaps shouldn't be put aside. So I know what a pervasive issue it is. I also happen to know, as someone who teaches 40-hour training programs, ours is in mediation, just how long 40 hours is when you're diving into one topic. So 40 hours just on domestic violence. I want the listeners and other professionals out there who are listening to hear this. Most DV programs are 6 hours, maybe 9 hours. Every once in a while, you find one that's 12. A 40-hour domestic violence advocacy program is intense and deep. There's a lot there. I personally want to take one myself, and just found one, so that I'll be taking one as well. But so much to know, and not enough even in 40 hours, right?
No, and it's so fascinating, because you're so right. We did an hour. I love the scheduling of this. Was that our second day was a Saturday morning at 8 a.m. We began with 2 hours on human trafficking. Yeah. And I was like, oh my God, really? Because I think I'm going to need more coffee.
I was just going to say, that is not a topic for pre-coffee. No.
Yeah. And 2 hours is not enough.
No. You could do 40 hours on human
40
trafficking.
hours on human. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the surprising fact of that is that that the US has the highest rate of human trafficking in the entire world. And we think of human trafficking as a issue that happens in mostly Asian countries, right? Like we have this image of it. Nope. It's all here.
Yeah.
All here. Why? Because there is a demand for it.
Which is just says something right there about this is our society, our advanced society in the United States, right? But and this is making me think we will do an episode on domestic violence now that because I'd love to hear more, and maybe we should do one on human trafficking. But today I want to take people back, because we know so many people out there who are listening are in the place of, should I stay or should I go? And in fact, so one of the stats I looked up, and it was actually our friend Erin Levine who said this in her episode on DIY divorce, the average person who asks their spouse for divorce or makes the decision to divorce has been thinking about it for on average 4 years. Yeah. 4 years. Why, Kate? Why have they been thinking about it for 4 years?
Well, mostly because nobody wants to get divorced.
Right.
Right. And so they've been doing everything they can to try to avoid it. Right. And I don't think that it's not that they've been thinking about it for 4 years. They have been actively trying to avoid it. They've been trying to make like anything else possible, whether it's going to individual therapy, whether it's doing couples therapy to really try to heal, whether it's, in a lot of my listeners and clients, it's turning themselves inside out to try to be enough for somebody for whom they will never be enough. Especially in cases of emotional abuse, right? It's a moving target. You will do the thing that they ask, and then that won't be enough because you're not doing this thing. And then then so you're constantly shifting because these things are so insidious, because, in cases of abuse, we don't want the relationship to end. We want the abuse to stop, because if we're dealing with the cycle of violence, right, it takes someone in an abusive relationship up to 7 times before they actually leave, because leaving isn't the hard part. Staying gone is the hard part, because part of the cycle of violence, and it includes emotional violence or financial violence, is the love bombing phase where they promise it'll never happen again.
I'm so sorry. It'll never happen again.
It'll never happen again. And I'm so sorry. And you're right. And I'm trash. And I don't deserve you. Right. And so, there are a million reasons. And I think the primary reason is that nobody wants this.
Right.
Nobody, people say like, so-and-so wants to get divorced, or my wife wants to divorce me. No, she doesn't.
Yeah. She was like this to have worked out. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Nobody wants to get divorced.
It's so true. And, I think you've talked about those cases where we have some sort of abuse, or we have that dynamic of abuse within the relationship. But I know you also see that other end of the spectrum. In fact, I think you just posted something recently on it where, he's not that bad, or he's a good guy. It's not, somebody just said this, a friend just said this to me the other day. Like, it's not the greatest relationship in the world, but it's not that bad. And I, what proportion of people do you see in that space? Where
so many. Yeah. So many. So many. And, I break it down a bit, because very often women who come to me or are in my Facebook group and stuff who talk about this feel like he's fine. He's not like, he's a good dad. He's a good guy. He's just like, I don't know. I'm just not in love with him. I don't have the feelings anymore, and blah, blah, blah. And the first thing I do is say, okay, so tell me, I'll have people say like, he's a really great dad. He just has a really bad temper. And I'm like, okay. So he yells at the kids a lot. So where is the bar, right? Where's the bar for he's a great dad? And for so many of us, it is so low. And it is so low because as a culture, we don't expect, we're like, if they play with them, then they're great. And, in my mind, if they're cheating on you, if they have a rage or temper problem, if they're destabilizing the foundation of the family, then, is that a great dad? Is it really?
Is that in your definition of what you're looking for your kids? Right,
exactly. So the first thing I do is dig under that. And listen, very often we get under it and it's like, no, he is a great dad. He's a great provider. He's a good human. He's right. Like all of the things. I just like, ugh.
Yeah, he's not your human anymore, or maybe never was.
Exactly. And maybe you chose him at a different time in your life, which, we all do, right? I mean, I always ask the question, like, if you met him today, would you choose him? Would you marry him? Would you go on a date with him? And 9 times out of 10, they're like, ew, God, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
And then it's like, okay, all right. And then I think of people like you. If you met your husband today, would you go on a date with him? Like,
absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Right? And I'd laugh a lot, which is exactly what hooked me the first time. So.
Exactly. And you guys are still so in love. And like, you've been together for how long now?
Almost 20 years. Yeah.
Yeah. and
Yeah.
you've gone through raising triplets and, step parenting and like all of the things. It's not like you guys have been on like this golden path, right? It has been riddled with stuff, and you still actively choose each other every single day because you really, really like each other.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you love each other. You love each other, but you really like each other too.
And that's out there, folks, if that's what you're looking for. So is that something you tell people to weigh an okay relationship again? Not mine in particular, but just is that something that you might want to consider?
Well, we do talk about, do you like this person? Right. When they say like, I don't want to leave him because I love him. And I'm like, okay, tell me all the things you love about him, and often it's like, like, all right. Because these are the things that we've been trained and conditioned to say, as opposed to the things that we actually really feel.
Yeah.
And so, and if it's like, he's a really good guy and he's a genuinely great guy, and I am just not like turned on by him, then we're going to get into, okay, is it because of what is your attachment, style? How were you conditioned from birth, from childhood to attach? Are you, we're in high school, were you dating all the bad guys? Are you more sort of emotionally drawn to and physically drawn to the people who are more standoffish? And here you have this lovely human who's giving you absolutely everything, and you don't know where to put it. You don't have a slot for that, because that's your work, right? So we're going to do your work first, and we're going to look at healing that stuff and those attachment wounds, so that to determine whether this person, actually there is a slot, we can create a slot for that. And then sometimes it's like, I really I really can't. I've tried everything and I really can't. And in that case, I say to people, you deserve to be happy, right? It's possible for you actually to have someone that really, that fits with you. Because, I always quote Mary Oliver, right? What will you do with this one wild and precious life? This is it, guys. This is it. This is one time around. Is this how you want it to go? Is this fair for everybody?
I was just going to say, don't they want that as well? What are you giving them?
That's exactly the other thing that I say. I say, you don't want to break his heart, right? And I'm speaking because I work mostly with women, right? You don't want to break his heart, but doesn't he deserve to be loved in the most genuine and passionate way? And is you keeping him in this marriage is keeping him from having that for himself. And if you really love him and you really care, then isn't the kindest thing to let him go?
Right.
So that he can find that too.
I mean, that's a significant thought. It can be hard to get across to the person that you're talking to when you're trying to tell them that you're being kind to them by leaving them. But you just mentioned that you work mostly with women, and we've talked about that. There are a variety of reasons for that, but we also know just statistically that when divorces are filed, it's usually filed by a woman, or when the decision to get divorced is made, it's usually statistically just more often a woman in the relationship. And this would be heterosexual relationships. Why do you think that is? I know why I think it is, but I'm just curious why you think that is.
Well, I think there are two reasons. I think one of them is your reason,
probably
too,
mine. Yeah.
is that like, we do all the fucking work, right? We do all the fucking paperwork, right? So it's like, well, it's like we do all the labor, right? So like, he's not filing, even if he wants it, right? He's not filing, he's not doing it. All right, I guess I'll do it.
Yes, I got to do that too.
I got to do that too, right? And a lot of the women I work with are like, really? Do I have to do that too? And I'm like, yeah, and this will be the last time. Like, just
at least for that person, right?
Right, exactly. And it probably won't be the last time. I mean, if you have kids, I have a teenager who's, he's a junior in high school, and we're doing the whole college thing. My ex has literally done zero zero work, no research. He has not logged on to the, the sites. He like, right.
Yeah.
I mean, all of the Naviance, which is
Yeah.
I mean, like all right. None of it. He doesn't even know what it is. Right. So it will not be the last time, but so that's one reason, right? We do all the work. The other reason is I think that well, first of all, marriage works, cis hetero marriage as an institution serves men because of the fact that we do all the labor, because of the patriarchy and the way things are structured. They get everything they want and need. They're totally fine. They are happy with the way things are. If you're, looking at your marriage and you're tired and you're exhausted and like, I have a module called, why are women so exhausted in the new program, right? Because we do so much work. And there is, especially with, cisgendered white men, generally speaking, there is an embedded entitlement that is cultural, right? This is not personal. This is cultural. And so cis hetero marriages work really well for men. They serve them. Even if it's two working people, even if it's not an imbalance, right? It still really serves the man. And so, because of that, it means that women are more exhausted. Marriage does not serve women as well. And you can see this in the rates of the remarriage rates. Men get remarried almost immediately, usually to someone younger because they just reset the clock, right?
Yeah, starting over,
right? They're just
in this position.
They rewind, right? Because like we have grown and outgrown them. And then they haven't really grown very much. And so they're not going to choose someone at the growth level that we're at now. They're going to go back. They're going to reset the clock, right? Men get remarried like almost immediately and almost always. I think it's something like 65% of divorced women say they will never get married again.
Yeah, who just said that? Some celebrity Kaylee Cuoco, who just said, I am never getting married again. And it just made me laugh because I have to tell you, every female client I think I've ever had sat in my office at some point in time and laughed in my face when I said, now, when you remarry, let's talk about, prenups right, and things like, and they're like, nah, not happening.
Not going to happen. Absolutely. And so I think, men are, I say this to my clients all the time. I'm like, look at the structure of your relationship and what does he get out of it versus what do you get out of it? And they're like, oh my God, even stay-at-home moms, right? They get financially, taken care of in the marriage, but beyond the marriage, they're completely screwed. And, they basically take care of everything in the house so that he can rise up,
earn that money,
and right. Like if we were not home taking care of everything, they would not be able to be as successful as they are. They just wouldn't. And so, they talk about sort of the 9 to 5, the 40-hour work week was completely based upon having a spouse at home, taking care of everything else. Right. And so when you've got two people working 40 hours, like, everyone's exhausted by the end of the day, but who's usually doing the work?
Cooking, cleaning, homework. And I'm not going to say there are not men out there doing all of those things as well, but we are talking in norms. We're talking about societal.
General. Yeah, that's right. So if you're a man listening to this and you're like, I do all that stuff, I'm amazing. And more amazing that you are sort of breaking down the gender norms and stereotypes, because it is really these are the statistics. Right. There was a Pew Research study done, I think in 2015, with working parents, and all the men were like, yeah, no, we're totally 50-50. And the women were like, are you kidding me? And these are, and again, these are two working parents. And so they did the study and it was 80-20.
Oh, I believe, I mean, you just talked about my relationship with my husband. This has all been making me think. Just before you and I hopped on to do this call, I was going through my emails and there was an email from my husband forwarding an email with a bill payment in it that was click a button, input a credit card and pay it. And he forwarded the email to me. It probably took him longer to type in my email address and would you please pay this, than it would have taken him to click the button and pay the bill. And I was right. And that's just, I mean, but
even
it's
the great guys, even
yes.
the guys that we think are stellar, like David, right? Like even those guys.
He's awesome, but trust me, folks, he can't click a button and pay a bill.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So this is not about, good guy, bad guy. This is a cultural and systemic issue. And so, to answer your question, I think the reason that women overall leave marriages is, and there's a third reason, by the way. So we've got the we do the work. We've got the men, cis hetero marriages really serve the male in the relationship. And then we also have, oh God, it just left my brain. There was something else. Oh, there it is. That we also have, we also have the fact that overwhelmingly women consume more personal development than men do. And this is a horrible statistic. I actually don't have the actual statistic, but women are usually the ones reading the books, listening to the pod, and again, usually, generally speaking, reading the books, listening to the podcasts, hiring the therapists, hiring the coaches, working, really doing the work to excavate this. And a lot of men don't want to do the work. And again, this is not men's fault. This is because we've been raised in a society that says that men who do this work are pussies, or, that men are not really allowed to have access to their feelings. And if we, and if they have access to their feelings, they're pussies, they're gay, they're like all of the things, right?
Yeah.
And so we still have this toxicity around this in our culture. And so very often, you will have a wife saying, we need therapy, and a man being like, I'm good. Yeah, you want to go to therapy, go for it, but I'm not interested. You knew who I was when you married me. I'm still the same guy I was 20 years ago, as if that's a good thing.
Yeah, I was just going to say. No one's debating that. That is why we need to go to therapy.
That's the problem.
Yeah. Right. Thank you for defining the issues.
Exactly.
But I think, actually, Dr. Elizabeth, I just want to mention Dr. Elizabeth and I did an entire episode on toxic masculinity. And I think a lot of the points that you're making here, because I've had many male clients over my career, many of them really lovely guys who are not, or who have struggled against these norms and gender, stereotypes and all that, and really do find themselves in that position of trying to reach out for help, self-improvement, et cetera, and not benefiting by that. The society doesn't say, oh, good for you for trying to look inward, make changes, and, better your situation. So I do think we see that dynamic often of women doing a lot of work prior to the divorce in the should I stay or should I go phase, right, and men starting to do the work when the woman's decided it's time to get divorced.
And it's too late then. And that's the thing, is that by that point, we have tried so hard and so hard and so hard. But when women are done, we're done. And there's really nothing that'll pull us back. And so it's very common. I see it all the time where men are suddenly like, whoa, wait. Okay, I'll do anything. You want to go to therapy? Like, hold on, wait, whoa. And it's like, I've been saying this for years, and they're always blindsided, by the way, always. And unfortunately, it should not be a shock to them, but they just haven't been able to hear it for whatever reason. And by that point, it's too late. And what I encourage people who are in that position is men who are like, oh, wait, I'll do anything. Do it. Do it anyway. Don't do it just to get her back. Do it because there is work for you to be done. And it is horrible, gross, painful, awful work. And the benefits on the other side are just unbelievable. And the life that is possible for you on the other side, and the relationships that will be possible for you on the other side, including with your ex-spouse, right? As a co-parent, are amazing. And look, maybe someday down the road, you might win her back. I have heard stories, right?
Sure.
So, but do it for yourself because it's important. We all need to be doing this stuff. We all do. None of us gets by without trauma. None of us.
I mean, the idea that none of us, or that once you've worked through a trauma or have done some work, that you never need to do it again. It's kind of like what we talked about at the top of the episode with, growing as a professional. Same thing applies, folks, to growing as human beings. Absolutely. The person that I am today in my 50s is a very different person than the person I was in my 20s. I got married and divorced in my 30s. I met my current husband in my late 30s. I'm now in those same 50s. We're continuing to grow and to change and to evolve. And as Mary Oliver said, we get one shot at this. And so the should I stay or should I go there's value in that time and in that struggle for everyone.
Absolutely.
And yeah, that's the one thing I think. And one thing that I know about your program and I know about you is that in the program, if that's where you are and you go to the program, there's value in going through the program, whichever way that it comes out, because it is not focused on fixing the relationship or ending the relationship. By the way, Kate Anthony does not have a vested interest in you ending your marriage. That's not the point. Not at all. So if you're going to work it out, but it is a program that's going to help you work on you.
That's right. That's exactly right. Thank you for saying that, Susan. People say like, oh, you're pro-divorce. I'm like, no, I'm not. I am pro healthy, happy relationships. And if you think I'm pro-divorce, then I'm obviously like triggering something in you.
You might need to do some work.
There's probably like a power and control thing happening that I am disrupting that you're not happy about. But it is. When at the end of the course, this new version of the program, I do have 2 tracks. Like, okay, if you're at this point and you're like, actually, I think I really want to save this, I have like a bunch of resources for you. And if you want to go, I have a bunch of resources for you. So you listen, it is absolutely up to you. And it does, you're right. It doesn't focus on the other so much as it focuses on your internal work. Because so many people, when they're asking the question, should I stay or should I go? It's really like, they need strength, they need self-esteem, they need permission, they need inner nurturing. And so much of this program is about that, is about your own personal development to get to a place where you can actively, not codependently, and like truly choose from your strongest and highest and most esteemed self. And that's what this is about, right? Because so many of us don't trust our decision-making process, right? And so the program essentially guides you into a place of being able to make a decision that you can trust and that you can really stand by and feel really confident and secure in either way.
And the value of that, I really want to just drive this home for people, because I have seen people sit across from my desk or sit at my conference table or zoom in on my Zoom screen these days. But I have seen people who have not done the work, not done what you have said is grueling, difficult work in that should I stay or should I go phase, who just coast and then something will happen. I'm going to just usually say it's an affair or it's some sort of bad behavior there, and that will end the marriage. And yes, okay, you just achieved ultimately, you've now ended that relationship and you've done what needed to be done. You've just done it in the worst possible way for your life going forward. And you will always look back on the, should I stay or should I go? And I left because I found the love of my life or whatever it was. You will never look back on it as what Kate just described as a decision you can trust and made, in your highest self, and knowing that you're honoring yourself and your partner to the best of your ability. There's nothing about ending a relationship in all the bad ways. And I use an affair, but I've seen people end relationships in all different kinds of horrible ways.
Yeah.
This is, this program and this time in your life is a gift in some ways, in that you can invest the time to know that when you make that decision, you're making it for all the right reasons and in the best way possible, having done the work that needs to be done to make it that way. That's a gift, people.
Absolutely. Like making it with integrity, right? Rather than blowing it up, right? It really is. Yes. It's making the choice with integrity, as opposed to, as you said, and the blowing up thing is often very unconscious, right? We're not looking to like blow it up and right. But like, really, that's kind of what we're looking to do. We're like, I don't have the strength. I don't have the self-esteem. I don't have the courage to go through and have the conversation that I really know I need to have. So I'm just going to kind of do this thing over here. And, I've seen it, and I'm sure you have too, hundreds of times, happen to leave my computer screen open with like the chats. I mean, how many people have had their affairs busted because they, unconsciously chose to leave the chat open on a shared computer or, whatever. Right. And, I think that is a choice. That is a choice, but it is not one that I think that, again, as you said, Susan, looking back in the future, you're going to look back on this and be like, I did that with integrity. You're going to feel bad about it.
Yep. Yeah. And it's going to color your future. I'm all about divorce and beyond. I'm all about the and beyond, but I want your and beyond to be the best it can possibly be. And you are starting several feet back if you are starting without having done that work and making that choice with integrity. And I think I love that you use that word, because it's exactly the right word. And it's exactly the point of your program, right?
That's right. It is. Yeah.
It's there to help people go through this extremely difficult time period of choice and work and decision-making and growth and, all the things that you need to do, but it's there to help you do it so that when you look back, you can say, I handled that with integrity. I am moving forward in the best way possible. And then you set the foundation for your beyond with that foundation. And it's just, I'll say it again, it's the gift to yourself, but it's the gift to your ex-spouse, your former spouse. And most importantly, it's the gift to your children.
That's right.
It truly is.
It absolutely is. And, the other thing we talk about all the time is the statistics about, second marriages and third marriages, that the divorce rate is higher for second marriages and third marriages. It just gets worse. It's 68%. I mean, last time we checked, I don't know, 67, 68% for second marriages, and then 73, 74% for third marriages. So it gets worse. And the reason that I believe it gets worse is that people are not doing this work and standing in integrity and really digging in and taking the opportunity to grow through this very difficult decision. Because if you're just like, oh, it's his fault or it's her fault and they're the asshole, and you toss them out, you're going to use the same picker.
Oh yeah.
The same kind of person.
That's our friend Bella. You got to fix your picker.
You gotta fix your picker. That's right. So it's a very, and it's real. It is 100% real. So,
I mean,
as the divorce rate, shows. So,
well, and I've seen it. I mean, again, one of the, I guess, benefits of having practiced for such a long time is I've had the opportunity to see clients cycle through more than one marriage. I have one person who I've handled 4 divorces for that person, because I've been at this long enough, and he keeps trying, God bless him. But what he's not done is done that work. And so he continues to marry the same person, but younger each time he gets married. But they're very similar people that he's attracted to. People have types, but anyway, I digress.
No, but it's really interesting, right? And I love the fact that he actually keeps coming back to you. Like he has no shame.
Yeah, no, I'm on his speed dial.
He's like, oh, well, did it again. That's like when my mom quit smoking and she kept going to, I think it was the American Cancer Society. And when she went in, it was like in the 80s, and she went in like the 4th or 5th time, and the person said, you again? And she was like, okay, I'm never coming back. I'm never coming back. And that was the end. That was when she finally quit smoking. Because it was the embarrassment.
Public shaming. Yes.
Public shaming. And she was like, okay, I can't do this anymore.
Well, we don't want you all to be in that position of public shaming. I want people, actually, if you are out there in that situation of should I stay, should I go? If you're wondering if your relationship is viable, or you're just in a marriage, even, I would say it doesn't have to be should I stay or should I go? I would suggest that the program is helpful, even if you're just like, my marriage is
yes.
Yeah. My relationship is
right. And because I also think that some of these systemic issues, when we surface them, right, this module on, why are women so exhausted? I think we surface those problems and we bring them to our spouse and say, these are the statistics, and this is actually how I'm feeling, right? Because we're so exhausted, we don't know why. We're like, what is going on? And if we don't talk about them in healthy ways, then, we're like there's an opportunity for healing and growth here, as well as moving away. Yeah, for sure.
If you don't talk about your feelings, they're going to come out sideways. So this will give you I recommend everybody look into it, but we haven't told people how to find the program. How do they find your program?
Goodness. Thank you, Susan.
How could we forget?
They go to my website, which is kateanthony.com, and they click on the button that says, should I stay? And we'll link to it in the show notes, I assume.
Of course.
But it's, kateanthony.com/ should I stay, with hyphens between each one. But it's really obvious on my site where it is.
And on the site, you can find Contact Kate. You can find the Divorce Survival Guide podcast, all kinds of resources. Your other program that I just referenced, the Divorce Survival program, which is kind of the one that comes after you decide you should go. Right.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. That's the one that walks you through all of the things you need to know about how to do it once you've made the decision. And of course, Susan is one of my favorite guest experts in that. And so yes, my website is full of all of the things. Absolutely. Thank you.
And follow her on Instagram at the Divorce Survival Guide, and your Facebook group.
Yes, my Facebook group is Should I Stay or Should I Go on Facebook. If you just put that in the search bar on Facebook, you will find it. There is a screening process. It is a very rigorously moderated, and people say it's like one of the safest and best divorce groups on Facebook, because we do moderate it. We have rules. It's very, it's strict. So if you are interested in joining, make sure you answer every one of the screening questions, or you will not be admitted. And that's just the way that we keep it safe. We're not trying to be, assholes about it, but that's how we keep it safe. Because we've had, people try to get in that shouldn't be in
for the wrong reasons,
for
right?
all the wrong reasons. That's right. Mm-hmm.
And my listeners know one of the things, there's a difference between finding a community online that's just going to help you stay stuck where you are, and a community that's going to help you grow. And you can grow within a curated community like Kate's, where she and her monitors really stay on top of things to make sure that it doesn't just become a downward spiral of people
Yes.
reinforcing the negative.
That's right.
There's
We
a
do
great deal of
not
help there.
allow, we don't allow X bashing. We don't allow venting. People are like, I just want to vent. Like, no, it's not, like, that is not helpful or useful. So we want questions, we want specifics. What are you looking for in this post? What do you need in this post? And Facebook has been rolling out very slowly the option to post anonymously. And we just got that feature, which is wonderful because people are able to, you know, they feel a little bit safer about telling their stories and asking their questions. So,
right. Because we do need to be careful on social media as well.
right.
So
We do.
Kate, as always, that just flew by. Believe it or not, we've been talking for over 45 minutes. It's going to be another wonderful episode. And for everyone, I will link to all of Kate's episodes. I think we have 5 or 6 episodes together now, plus a few that I've done on the Divorce Survival Guide with Kate. We've even done some fun crossover episodes. So, and stay tuned because we'll do an Instagram live soon as well. So another opportunity. Actually, if you're out there and listening and there's something you want Kate and I to talk about, send us an email, divorceandbeyondpod@gmail.com. Or kate@kateanthony.com, and let us know what you want to hear about. We'll get together and talk. As you can see, we have no problem talking when we're together. So hopefully it's helpful to you all. As you all know, I adore Kate, and I love what she puts out there to help and support all of you. I highly recommend that you reach out to her on her website and her resources, because you're not going to find a better source of help out there than Kate.
I adore you. Thank you so much, Susan. Thank you for having me. You are, I adore you. I adore you. I love talking to you.
The love fest.
Yes, it is.
But we'll come up with another good episode for you all soon. Thanks so much, Kate.